indoors at Cheshunt in Hertfordshire,
Okay,
and I start first session at Winchmore Hill tomorrow.
brilliant. Okay.
Outdoors.
Is that opened a little bit earlier than usual or not?
It's about right for us. Yeah, I think it opened officially yesterday, but the first bowling session will be tomorrow.
Brilliant. Okay. So,
Yeah.
how are you getting on with members over at Winchmore Hill?
That's the usual issue. We get new members, but we lose them as they fall off the perch. So it's not easy. I think we're running at about 80 or so at the moment.
Still a good number. And is that mixed, obviously, in terms of more men, more ladies, or?
About probably 3-1 men to ladies, I would think.
Okay,
Yeah, we got a good group of ladies though. We're lucky in that respect because some clubs the ladies have more or less disappeared, but we're doing okay.
good. Jerry, let's talk a little bit about your coaching journey and the
Mm.
qualifications that you've actually gained along the way over the last few years.
Okay, yeah. Well, if we go back to I don't know 15 years ago,
Yeah.
the most coaching that new bowlers got was members of the working party or maybe the greenkeeper, just making sure that new members could deliver a bowl without cutting chunks out of the green. And once they were passed, they rarely got much more than that. But around about the year that we started, Diz and I, 2010, that would be,
Okay.
Bowls England and the EIBA kind of began to realize that there wasn't a national coaching system. There was the English Bowls Coaching Society, EBCS,
Yeah.
but that in different counties was run in different ways. There was no national standard. So they set about establishing a national qualification and encourage club members to take these qualifications. So I first of all did a marking course, and then I did a level 1 coaching course. That was in 2015, I think.
Yeah.
Now, my assessor on that course was a wonderful chap called Eddie Plume. Unfortunately, he passed away just last month. Very sad, but he was a wonderful coach, and he introduced me to something called the Hertfordshire Bowls Coaching Society, HBCS. And once I had my level 1, I was allowed to join the society. And the most wonderful thing about that was that the society was more or less in charge of coaching the Hertfordshire under 25 bowlers every Saturday morning at Riverrain in Hitchin.
Yeah.
So I started there, and as a result of that, Eddie encouraged me to take my level 2, which I did in 2018. And now, that's a few years later, they've actually invited me, Coach Bowles has invited me to study for the level 3 coaching qualification. And that's all about coaching high performance and international players. But doing the under 25s at Riverrain, we have both the Hertfordshire County and the national awards, and seeing these youngsters get into national teams has been absolutely wonderful. When I first joined HBCS, we already had Devon Cooper, who became the youngest ever national champion in 2016 indoors. And then Rachel Tremlett was also there, and with Devon, she won the 2016 EIBA National Women's Pairs. More recently, we've got Sam Andrews, who's now been selected for England under 25s. Rihanna Russell, who won the Women's National Champion of Champions last year. And then alongside Rihanna, we've got a number of under 25s whose names you'll probably be seeing in the next few years contending at national level, and they're likely to become internationals. And I'm happy to give them a name check. So people like Sam Andrews, Hayden Chambers, Oliver Johnson, and 2 brothers, Callum and Kieran Smith, who are really doing very well. So
Okay.
yeah, that's how it all started and how it continues.
And, where do they play outdoors in Hertfordshire?
They play all over the place. Welling. Now you put me on the spot. I
Okay.
don't know individually where the clubs
Right.
are. They're spread
Okay.
around Hertfordshire anyway.
Right. Okay. And what do you think sort of like the importance is of being a coach and giving something back to the game of bowls? Why is that really a real benefit for yourself?
Well, it's something I enjoy, and it comes
Okay.
naturally to me. I've got a bit of a background in education anyway,
Yeah.
because I've been a lecturer in the past. So yeah, I mean, the benefits, in terms of giving back, it's obvious when these players, achieve things
Yeah.
themselves. You're doing good for their clubs, you're doing good for their counties, and hopefully you're doing good for the national team as well.
Right.
But personally, it's part of sort of continuous learning, both as a bowler and a coach.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things is learning that there is no one correct way to deliver
Yeah.
a bowl. And what a coach has to do is understand how each bowler who wants to improve as an individual, you need to work out how they can make their own improvements in their consistency and their focus. Those are the two key things, really.
Okay.
You have to help them find out what works for them.
Okay. So how many hours a week do you actually put into your coaching, Jerry?
Well, I do maybe 3 or 4 hours at the weekend. And then during the outdoor season, the HBCS does what we call skills days.
Okay.
So we travel around all the clubs in Hertfordshire and Middlesex doing full days or half day coaching sessions. And I'm probably going to do about 10 of those this summer with
Okay.
a load of other coaches from the society as well.
And is there any plans this year? Do you know of any definite dates for Middlesex to sort of maybe get involved in?
We currently only have one Middlesex club booked, and that's North London, excuse me. And although we're happy to coach in Essex and Middlesex, I have very little awareness of any formal coaching activity in Middlesex, I have to say.
I believe that Middlesex don't actually have a county coach.
Okay, that would explain.
So, is there so obviously if clubs wanted to reach out and sort of get in touch with you, they could do. Would that be fine?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah?
I'm happy to share my details, but
Yeah.
also we're taking bookings now for 2027. So
Okay.
we usually do up to about 20 or 30 sessions in a season. And that
Right.
can be, I mean, last year, for example, we coached a total of over 300 individual bowlers from various clubs around the counties. So, yeah, we can get in touch and book you in for 2027. That's fine.
Okay. So in terms of the youngsters coming forward and playing in Hertfordshire, what do you think
Mm.
the difference is in Middlesex? Why do you think we can't get the youngsters to play? Do you not think that we actually have a platform for them? Are things different in Middlesex compared to what they are in Hertfordshire?
Absolutely. There's no question that Hertfordshire's got it right. It all starts with families, honestly. When I go to
Okay.
Hitchin on a Saturday morning, it's generally the grandparents of the young bowlers who are bringing them along there. There's often a tradition of bowling in the family. The grandparents come along, they stay there the whole morning, they watch the bowlers, they encourage them. And a lot of clubs in Hertfordshire seem to have a committee member who's interested in youngsters.
Yeah.
And I don't know of any club, even my own club in Middlesex, that has a dedicated youth development person on the committee. And I think that's the big issue.
Right.
Um, I mean, at our club, we've tried to get relationships with anything schools, scouts clubs, things like that. But again, Hertfordshire has some really good development structures outside bowls clubs, but in the education field. For example, they do a schools Olympics every year at Wadston Park, and bowls is included in that.
Yeah.
They have a bowls development officer in the county working specifically with schools. I can't see any of that infrastructure in Middlesex.
We have a development officer called Angie Coomin. I
Uh-huh.
think she's working quite hard with some clubs.
Okay.
We have this thing at the moment which is called the Bowls Buddies. What's your sort of general thoughts on the Bowls Buddies?
You mean the equipment?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. We use a lot of Bowls Buddies equipment at Hitchin, stuff that makes it fun, like the targets, the goals,
Yeah.
the ladders, all that kind of stuff. It keeps the kids interested and amused. Bear in mind, we have kids as young as sort of 5 and 6 years old
Yeah.
starting with us. So you have to keep them amused. And the other wonderful thing about the actual Bowls Buddies bowls themselves is that you can use them on hard surface, laminate floors, stuff like that, and they still roll with a bias, and that's a really good introduction.
So it could be used sort of like multi-purpose as well in clubhouses if needed during the winter.
Absolutely. Clubhouses, indoors, outdoors, artificial surfaces. The key thing is they're not very heavy and they roll with a bias, so kids can really get into them early without worrying about having to find a bowl that's big enough or small enough for them.
And
Yeah.
do you actually think within sort of Middlesex, just in terms of the coaching, do you think that we actually need to connect as a county, or is it within areas that we can get some subcommittees together to try and form something to push the bowls going forward with the youngsters?
You need, I suppose nowadays they call it something like a centre of excellence.
Yes.
The fact that River Rain has this wonderful indoor bowls club and Hertfordshire has been able to sort of dive in, set
Yeah.
itself up, that's what
Yeah.
you need. You need an identified focus, a center. And a lot of outdoor clubs I know are nervous about kids because they're worried about the greens. But if we could get certainly an indoor club in Middlesex that was youngster friendly, I don't see any reason why we couldn't get a Middlesex Bowls Coaching Society up and running, located in a particular indoor club, and then encourage the older bowlers, the grandparents. I mean, typically what happens is the parents want a bit of free time on a Saturday morning, so they
Yeah.
dump the kids on the grandparents. If
Yeah.
the grandparents happen to be bowlers, they're really happy to then take the kids along on a Saturday morning. It keeps the kids occupied. Grandparents meet up with all their mates and talk bowls all morning. Yeah, something like that in Middlesex would be fantastic if we could work out how to do it.
I mean, the whole reason, obviously, one of the reasons is behind sort of the podcast is to try and encourage more youngsters to be playing bowls and
Yeah.
to give Middlesex a bit more of a voice. And
Yeah.
what you've just explained there, I hope that our listeners could sort of like take that on board and sort of really try to engage with yourself. And hopefully we could come up with a plan and push the bowls going forward with the youngsters. That would be ideal situation. It would be brilliant, Jerry. So
Yeah.
well done.
We got to get onto Instagram as well. Forget Facebook.
Uh,
That's old hat now. We've got to get onto Instagram.
And TikTok apparently is the new thing. So
Yeah.
I don't do TikTok, so it's a bit too much for me, but it's great. So just going away from your sort of coaching, obviously now you run a bowl shop. It's sort of very successful.
Thank you. Yeah.
And what are the latest products that are available for the players and the clubs at this precise moment in time?
Yeah. Well, the star product at the moment is a new shoe from Henselite, believe it or not.
Okay,
They've produced a shoe which is basically a sketcher for bowlers. So it's a
okay,
slip-in shoe. They do it in black and in navy. Like we're selling out every delivery we get. We're selling them like hotcakes. Unfortunately, it's also the most expensive shoe on the planet,
okay,
but it's a very hot product.
okay,
What else? Well, our disability products, or we're not supposed to say that nowadays. We've got to call it impairments or bowlers with an impairment.
okay.
But we sell a rollator that can be used on green with a seat. That's been approved by the EIBA and Bowls England. And the great thing about that, indoors or outdoors, is if you're a bit short of puff and you need to take a rest, traditionally you have to climb up back onto the bank, wait for the end, and then climb back down again. But with
Okay.
these rollators, because they've got a seat on, you can use them to help yourself walk up and down the green, and then you can just sit on them whilst you're waiting for your turn, and you don't have
Yeah.
to keep climbing up and down the bank. So that's very popular.
I've seen a lady use that actually. She plays at
Yep.
Hatfield.
Oh, yes.
Um,
That's right. Yeah.
Very, very useful product. That's very good.
Yeah. And then obviously we've got the Bowls Royce wheelchairs. Notice the hat.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
We- We've got over 250, would you believe, Bowls Royce wheelchairs out there now.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
It's won Commonwealth Games. Well, it hasn't, but its bowlers have won Commonwealth Games. Australians and Brits have both won medals using it. So that's a good product. Then from the coaching point of view, we've invented one of the most important things I'm learning about in my level 3 course is monitoring progress. And we can describe bowls as a game, but it's also a sport.
Yeah.
And if you like, from a social perspective, it's a game people play and enjoy. But as a sport, you need really to be able to monitor your progress and continually improve. And you can't do that unless you've got a way of recording how you're getting on and comparing, one session to the next.
Yeah.
So we've got a scorecard that people can use, 1 week, one day after another, and just actually monitor whether they're getting better or not.
Okay.
So that's a product we've kind of invented. And another one that we've got, this is for clubs this time, is a scoreboard with a space for a sponsorship advert underneath. These have been available, for a while from different companies, but recently we've had a lot more inquiries. And so we decided to produce our own. And we've also got, and this is the interesting bit, a dedicated salesman who will look for sponsorship for a club who wants free scoreboards. And that's nearly £1,000 worth of scoreboards for a set of 6. So that's exciting for us, and they're selling well as well.
And all these products, obviously, I will put you've kindly sent me over some pictures and I will share onto the Facebook page,
Thank you.
which would be, I hope that a lot of people will take up these sort of offers. But since you've had the shop, what's been the biggest change you've seen in what the players are sort of purchasing in
Yeah,
terms
it's
of
a
when
bit
you first started to now?
yeah, it's a bit like the change from black and white telly to colour telly.
Yeah.
It's all about colours, really. And when I
Okay.
started bowling, you could still see a bowler in a collar and tie. County still insisted on blazers. I mean, I was fined once for sitting down for a post-match meal in Hertfordshire and forgetting to put my blazer on. I mean,
Right.
but nowadays everything is colours: clothing, shoes. It all used to be white or grey tops and trousers, white, grey or brown shoes. But
Yeah.
now it's all multicoloured: the shoes, the shirt, and indeed the bowls also now blazing all sorts of colours.
Right.
So
And
that's the major change.
what's the other sort of major change in sort of the terms of in terms of the bowls? What sort of
Well,
are the bowl?
there's only been one major change, and that was when Aero introduced the bowl that turns halfway.
Okay.
There was this theory that primitive man, when they were hunting, they were very good at judging the distance that was halfway between them and, let's say, a buffalo or something that they were trying to fire an arrow at.
Yeah.
So Walter Jacob, who invented the Aero bowl, came up with this idea that by having them turn on halfway, the human brain would find it easier to find that line on the green that was halfway than trying to find a line that was like 5/8 of the way. I mean, who knows where 5/8 of anywhere is?
Right. Yeah.
So when that was introduced, probably 8, 9 years ago now, it
Yeah.
was like incredibly fashionable.
Yeah.
Loads of people buy it. And then they hired Ellen Faulkner. That was a masterstroke because Ellen would arrive at a club, get a few sets of bowls out of the boot of her car, go onto the green, club members would be watching. Ellen would take a bowl, bang, straight onto the jack, forehand.
Yeah.
Another bowl, bang, backhand.
Yeah.
And people said, bloody hell, these Aero bowls, they're marvellous. And
Right.
they sold like hotcakes. Of course, what they didn't realise was that they were looking at one of the world's absolute best ever bowlers. So by having Ellen on the case, they did really well. So that went on for years. And then it started falling off as people began to see that actually it didn't matter that it turned on halfway. You still had to be a decent bowler to make an
Yeah.
Aero bowl work for you.
Right.
And then, interesting enough, we stopped selling Aeros a few years ago and we rarely get asked for them now, which is odd. I mean, there are some dealers and you can buy them online. They're still the most expensive, but it's all down to the bowler, not the bowl.
What is the most popular bowl at the moment?
I would say the two most popular bowls, and there's not much to choose between them, are the Taylor Ace and the Drake's Pride Pro 50. The Henselite Tiger range is popular, but because they're more expensive, we don't sell as many because people are still, especially nowadays, quite price sensitive. Yeah.
Do you, I mean, I sort of have a little bit of a theory, but I
Go on.
just wonder if the straighter bowls are killing the outdoor greens a little bit. What's your what do you think of that?
I wouldn't say I've observed that. Certainly, we don't sell many DTECs or Vectors or anything like that for outdoors. We don't sell many Tiger TXs or Pros or Tiger 2s for outdoors. Virtually no straight bowls for outdoors. And of course, when new
Right.
bowlers are coming in, we're generally steering them onto the Pro 50s or the Aces or the Blazers. So no, I
Right.
don't say I agree with you on that one.
What do you see the next big thing? If you were to look forward in the next 5 years, what do you think the next big thing will be in bowls in terms of equipment?
I think in terms of equipment, I can't see any major changes. I mean, cricket was able to go from red ball to white ball, but we've
Okay.
got like every colour you like. I think the major changes are going to be actually in the format rather than the equipment.
Okay.
I think to get more people involved, especially younger people with a short attention span, they're going to have to bring in new short formats. I mean, they
Okay.
tried that with something called the Bowls Bash, which was a sets based
Yeah.
competition. And I think sets based competitions are coming in more
More.
and more. They've already reduced the number of ends, haven't they, from 21 to
Yeah.
18
Yeah.
in a lot of comps. So yeah, short format competitions. Whether that's a good thing, I don't know. People have less time. In the old days, I suppose they had whole days to play bowls, but who's
Yeah.
got that time nowadays? So yeah,
And
format
what
change,
about
I think, is a big thing.
do you see the format changing as it being sort of a more individual thing, or do you see a lot more now, more club interaction in terms of games? We see a lot of stuff at the moment. I watch a lot of Australian bowls. The format is teams. It could be a triples, fours, a pairs, and the amount of bowls. Can you see
Mm.
that coming in over here in England?
I think it's going to be difficult. I mean, in Australia, the whole system is underpinned by the pennant competitions, and they
Yes.
are really strongly followed, and there's enough clubs out there. But what we're seeing over here is a reduction in actually the number of the clubs.
Right.
The councils are saying, no, we won't maintain your greens anymore.
Yeah.
So the clubs are closing. Who are we going to have to compete against in 5 years' time?
Right.
Just looking at Middlesex, even the number of clubs that close. So I think there is going to have to be more county-style competitions where individual bowlers or pairs or triples enter competitions that are not necessarily club-specific,
Okay.
because I can't see a route to club competitions increasing. I can only see
Okay.
them decreasing.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, it's very good. I mean, the one that I see in Australia quite a lot that I sort of fear a little bit is that no casting of the jack, because I
Yeah.
think that that's a very important skill, casting the jack, especially for a lead, and it can control sometimes the way that the game goes. But I hope they don't stop the casting of the jack over in England. I do realise that it is time consuming sometimes to cast a jack, especially if you have to get the tape out. But just out of interest, what's your view on that as a coach, not being able to
I
cast a
think,
jack?
well, it's really interesting that statistically there's an Australian, very well-known Australian coach called Lachlan Teague. And one of the things that he has documented is the easiest jacks to bowl to are the shortest and the longest.
Okay,
But putting a jack at sort of middle distance, maybe a metre or two off the middle on either side, they are the most difficult jacks to bowl to. And that's
right,
why varying the jack length can have such an important role in a competition.
right.
Because if people aren't focused and they're not concentrating enough, how often do you shorten a jack length and the opposition, the first bowl they release, it's a metre past? So, yeah, no, I would hate to see jack casting taken out of the game.
Okay. So just moving forward, and I really appreciate your sort of time. You've offered some wonderful offers, and you've come up with some ideas and some products. How can our followers and listeners come and purchase from you?
Okay, well, obviously we've got a website, and what we're going to do, just because we think your podcast is a very important part of the progress of the game, and if you'll pardon the rudeness, we've invented a code which is GOZPOD,
Oh,
G
thank
O
you.
G O Z Z P O D, Papa Oscar Delta, and you can use that code on our website until the 30th of April, and you will get 10% off absolutely anything, including bowls, that you buy off our website. So that's
Fantastic.
an amazing offer, 10% off anything using GOZPOD, GOZZPOD. And that will run through to midnight on the 30th of April. You can also come into the store in Berry Street West, London N9, and just say the magic word, and we'll give you the 10% as well.
Okay, thank you. So, like I said, Jerry, I really appreciate your time and coming on. I really have taken on board a lot of what you've said in regards to the coaching. I really hope that we could get together and have a meeting. I will be over at Winchmore Hill on the 15th of May.
Oh, okay.
And it would be interesting just to see if we can get a few bodies around, especially our area, Enfield, and maybe we can get some county officials to get involved and help us push the next generation to go forward, Jerry.
Yeah, I know our chairman, Pam Waller, is really keen as well to get the sort of youth side going. So I'm sure she'll be very welcoming of anything that we can offer.
Okay. Well, Jerry, thank you very, very much for coming on to the podcast.
Been a pleasure.
And I look
Thank you.
forward to seeing you very soon. And hopefully, business will do well with the code that you've given our offers.
Let's hope so. It's not free money, but almost. Thank you very much, Darren.
Thank you, Jerry. Take care. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Bye bye.